Thank you, and thank you to all our student helpers that have come in. Decided that if we're going to be doing a workshop, we're not standing here with all the answers. We're standing here actually also learning. And so we thought we need to have you students help us as we wrestle with this concept of service. So it keeps us real. Okay, so it's a workshop. It's not a lecture. I actually would like a lecture, because then it means I just stand here and can tell you what I think is right. And when we have a workshop, it means there's no right and wrong here, and we're all learning together. So for us to be a workshop, I'm also a nurse, and the one thing that we learn as a nurse, and I think you also learn it as teachers, is that we have to deal with the holistic person, all of who the person is. It's a biblical principle, because we have to love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, all of who you are. So we're thinking now of our brains, and you've all been using your left-hand side of your brain for the last 2 hours. So we now need to work your right-hand side of your brain. And I'm sure you're all teachers, so you want to maximize the use of your brain. You know, your left-hand side of your brain is that one that responds to the verbal, to understanding the meaning and the logic. So you've kind of done that in the last lecture. When it's a workshop, in order to get our right-hand side of our brain working, some of you will work it quite well. Some of you might struggle. I struggle a little bit with my right-hand side of the brain, so I have to work quite hard at it. And that's our creative side of things. So hence, you have Play-Doh. And how am I going to do this? Every time I move away, is it going to... So you've got in front of you some Play-Doh, and we are dealing with today looking at service, okay? So what is service, and how do you view service? What I want you to do is, in your little groups where you are, you've got a piece of Play-Doh, and I want you to make something that depicts your view of service. I'm going to give you no other clues. Getting your right-hand side of your brain working, all right? If you don't want to do the Play-Doh, you also have paper in front of you. You could draw what you depict as service. What for you is this word? Because we're looking at service orientation, so we have to understand it. So in your groups talk, you're in your groups, and you haven't got long. We're going to literally give you 3 minutes. So either Play-Doh or draw it. If you're drawing it, you can just draw whatever it is that for you depicts service. You can use the colors. So if it's a positive, you can use bright colors. If it's a negative or a hard work, we often use darker colors. It's up to you in your groups. And then we'll be ready for the workshop. You've got 3 minutes, so not long. Talk about it. So it's how do you view service, or what is service? That's what you're trying to depict, how you view it or what it is. You can do it individually, you can do it as a group, doesn't matter. Okay, this is great. You guys are ready for a workshop. Your right brain has certainly engaged way beyond what I could do. So would anyone just like to share what they've got, either in their group or on their own? We haven't got long, so hopefully at the end you can have a little bit of a talk and see what people have actually done. But it just gets us going. Does anyone who'd like to show us and explain what they've got? Volunteer? Okay, thanks.
Significant of service making a mark.
Oh.
Someone else's, which was not my idea. It was his idea.
Great, thank you. That's great. Anyone else want to tell us what they've got? Yeah, thank you.
We have made up a person who is pushing a wheelbarrow full of some things, rates or what. So service is serving the nation.
Okay, great. With the wheelbarrow, whatever the load is that you're going to carry it, eh? Okay, great. Yeah, thank you.
We drew a small little man with a big heart, because we believe service is when you do things or whatever it is that you're supposed to do wholeheartedly. You're supposed to make that work or whatever wholeheartedly.
Amen. That's my conclusion. So shall we just stop? You got to the end before. Okay, fantastic. And there was one, I love yours.
Mine. Yeah. Oh, I did a star. I put a person in the middle, and then other people on the other, and then I linked it together.
Yeah, together. Brilliant. Thank you. And that links up with the proverb that the gentleman ended his devotion with this morning, which was my proverb to start our workshop with today, because I got Mrs. Perry Joan to come and help me, because I believe it's very true that if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, then you go together. So that's why we are co-presenting, because we really want to go far in this aspect of service. So brilliant ideas. You guys are right up there. You're going to make it a lot easier for us. I must bring my remote next time. So what is service? I think you've started to think about that in what you have depicted there in paper or on Play-Doh. The Cambridge Dictionary says this. It says it's a system or organization that provides for a basic public need. But I think what we've seen is, as you started to do it, it's way more than just the dictionary word. And that's what we just want to do today, is we want to explore what it looks like and how it goes. So why do we serve? Okay, so we've sort of thought, you've got your things in front of you of what is service. Why do we serve? In your little groups, have a quick chat and discuss, why do we serve? We're going to cut you down to about 1 or 2 minutes here now. Okay, so some feedback. Why do we serve? Someone like to throw us out? Tell us what the answer was that was like so profound. Go on.
We all find fulfillment in service. She was sharing about how at school they have to log in hours for macaroni really fulfill just helping out.
Great. Someone else? Why do we serve? Yep. Thank you.
We have two things. It's a calling. We are called to serve. And then if it wasn't sin, humanity was supposed to be serving. But because of the fall, that's why we now struggle to bring. Now we see serving maybe as a hard thing to do, but it's supposed to be a joy to serve. And then it is to fulfill God's purpose for us. To answer the question, why are we here?
Great. Thank you.
I would say that service is actually like a way to make things better. For example, we at school we're supposed to serve. You're like almost servant leaders, so that I influence the rest of the people to follow what I'm doing. If I feel better, I should influence another person to actually do the same. So yes, that's what I was saying. And it becomes a habit.
Man, what will happen to me? But the Good Samaritan reversed the question and said, if I do not stop to help this man, what will happen to him? We all know when we think of service, we all think of Mother Teresa. And she said this: if you can't do great things, she used to say, do little things with great love. If you can't do them with great love, do them with a little love. If you can't do them with a little love, do them anyway. Love grows when people serve. And then she summed it up and said, I serve because I love Jesus. And that was what Samson was referring to there, and we're going to be looking at that. So why do we serve? It teaches us a few things. And I think we've summed it up fairly quickly, and I'm just going to give you 4 things really quickly that will just consolidate the answers that you've basically given to us. The first is that it teaches us to think beyond ourselves and our own needs. We're told, what is the greatest commandment? Matthew 22:37. To love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. That's right. To learn to go beyond yourself. Jesus made us to serve and calls us to serve and equips us to serve. And you see that in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 12, exactly what Samson had referred to. It says to prepare God's people for works of service. That's why those gifts are given. So we actually are made to serve. So it's a problem if we are not doing what God has made us to do. Mother Teresa said it, we serve because we love Jesus. You know, Ephesians 6 verse 7 tells us to serve wholeheartedly as serving the Lord. Just verses that you know, and it just confirms, especially for you students. And then we meet a basic need, which is where the Cambridge Dictionary started. But actually for us, as Christian educators and as Christian pupils that are there with this heart for service, there's so much more depth to it.
So what are the benefits of serving that we can have? We've already established that a need is met when we serve. And research and experience, I'll talk a bit about our gateway experience, shows us that through serving, you get a higher self-esteem. When the high school started helping out at the primary school, it was a class, I think Christopher's class. They had a need. I teach travel and tourism, so they do projects. And they needed to fundraise for their project. but they had no idea how to fundraise. So they looked for a gap. Now, when they come in at the beginning of the year, they usually have very low self-esteem because they're dealing with a whole lot of other things, one of which being the stigma of being in the commercial class, which people look down upon. So they're dealing with all of these things, and they're already downtrodden and not too keen to do anything. So they found a gap at the primary school with the PAC. And they said, we will fundraise, we will help you if you can help us fundraise. All we need is a table. We can't raise the money for a table for the fun day, but we can help. And they did that. So they set up their table, and they realized that it worked, and their self-esteem got better, and they realized, wow, so we can do this. So each and every single event that was targeted for any one of the schools, they were up, and they were saying, we want to do it. So suddenly their self-esteem had grown, and they'd realized that, I think someone spoke about this yesterday, that the world has set certain standards that in order for you to be successful, you pass your grades, and then you go to university, and then you do this. But there's a whole lot more that is involved than just the academic route of things. There's the service aspect also that is involved. And they discovered this, and that helped with their self-esteem. That was just something that I saw as we were developing service through the school. And through that, the service in the school actually developed bit by bit, with tiny little things like that of people's esteem growing in various places. You also find that they get better grades in school. That's another benefit of service. They have better grades in school. We praise God for our results in the commercial class. And we see that a lot of the times they haven't passed their O-level, but then they pass a diploma. So, they're helping out, they're doing practical things. It's all God working within them, and they develop a different kind of confidence to tackle on the things that you have around you.
Okay, so let's think in your groups. I'm going to do two starting points. Okay, of some of the benefits of service. In your group, just where you are, quick, think of some other benefits of service. Just where you are, think of some benefits. We've started to give you some ideas. Then let them think come back, and then you just, because then hopefully they'll do it, and then you can just pick it up, just so it stays. Come on, what are some benefits? Except that the job gets done.
That's self-esteem that we're saying. What our group came up with was that we think that you generally have a sense of worth. You feel like the impact that you've made has given you a sense of worth.
Building connections with those people could actually give you, open learn like teamwork, how to work with others.
You can roll them out. Okay, here's some of the reasons or benefits of service. Increase motivation toward life, more positive outlook to life, more half full than half empty people. Higher employment rate. I remember there's a time when I was in school, we used to have careers just like everyone else, and we were taught and told that if you have got voluntary work somewhere in your life, not really on your CV, but if you've done some voluntary work, they look at you differently because they can see your spirit. They can see how willing you are to stand in the gap in certain situations. So better social skills as well. At times you're interacting with very important people, and you learn. I think like what Sasha said, that you pick up certain things from, and they can become your mentors as well. Just some other things. Kids who served others just 1 hour or more per week were less likely to be involved in at-risk behavior than those not active in volunteering. Young volunteers often gain valuable social and career skills, including responsibility, punctuality, grooming, and interpersonal communication, what we've just talked about, part of your point, Sasha. Kids who volunteer have unique opportunities to use their creativity, talents, and ingenuity to improve their community. Volunteers often improve their own lives by meeting new friends and interacting with mentors. And that's very important, having a mentor in your life. And you make healthier life choices.
And this is research. This is not us. This is what guys who do it have done.
Service prepares you for leadership. You know that in our school, we've got servant leadership. And just yesterday at a workshop with Dr. Mutonono, he was talking about leadership and the sort of qualities that you're meant to have as a leader. And he said, as if you want to be a good leader, you must have godly values, which are love, which are faithfulness, truth, integrity, justice, mercy, all of those things, which you can actually pick up when you are interacting with others. I stand to be corrected, but I think Sunday school teachers and nursery school teachers, kids who are alone a lot of the times, can be quite, you're never too sure what they're thinking of or what they're doing. But when you are in a group and you're integrating with others and you're helping each other, they learn much quicker and much better. Okay, so Mr. Middleton often says that leadership is service. If you want to be a leader, you must be serving, which is what Jesus did, isn't it? He came in human form and he served us. He served people as part of his ministry. Thoughts on leadership?
Discussion.
Any thoughts on that? Especially for some of the people who...
Leadership is service. We always think of leadership as servant. What service? What's the word?
Servant leadership.
Servant leadership. That's right. And Mr. Middleton kind of just switched it around to try, because we get so used to blasé servant leadership. Yes, we know the Bible tells us that. But we don't always put it into practice. And so that was why the suggestion there was reverse it a little bit, and leadership is service. So in your groups, have a chat on that. Comments, is it true? What do you think? There's no right and wrong here. We're just throwing out stuff that has been put to us. And what does it look like? Does that mean I'll not?
Yeah. I'll just round it off when they finish. Okay? Can we have some views, please? Let's have some views on servant leadership. Mrs. Kapuya? Yes. What are your views?
We were just going back to our schools and saying what system is in place there. And I think the challenge with leadership and service is that it's the most difficult way to lead. And the world tells you another way, how you're supposed to lead, and yet what we teach and what the Bible teaches is completely the opposite.
That's right.
So the temptation of the young people is to lead the way other schools are leading, and why can't we have this power and that power and this power, and misunderstand that it's a completely different thing that we're looking at.
Yeah, I think we had those views as well, where we were sharing that, you know, even when I went to school, I went to Peterhouse, and the leadership there is that the prefects run the school. Once you become a cop, you know you are running the school. And running the school means, like what you're saying, I use my power to the best of my ability in any given situation. And that is not how, as Christians, we are meant to lead. Yes, of course, you do see leaders rising up, and you can tell, yes, this is a leader here. But it's how we then use those gifts and talents that we've been given by God to impact. Yeah. Any other views? Yes.
With Luke 24, and let's bring it for the students. The leaders that I'm bringing for these leaders, leaders. And he said to them, that's Luke 24, verse 25. Luke 22, verse 25. The kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and those who exercise authority over them are called benefactors, but not as among you. On the contrary, he who is greatest among you, let him be the younger, and he who governs as he who serves. So, leadership, I just want to give one example. In my school, when I was a principal, we gave our sports ground to the public schools to come and do their practice in the sports in our sports ground. The first time, the whole school was so filled. And we had to stop lessons and pick up, and then other teachers came to me and said, no, we shouldn't let these people come again. And then I said, no. And then the second sports meeting, I and my students, prefects, we were picking up papers. And I remember one teacher said to one of my students, are you punished? And then he said, no, we are punished. We are not punished. If we are punished, that means the principal is punished as well. And then he said, where's the principal? He said, I was holding a dustbin with my plastic, with my student on the other side. And then we were picking up papers. And then from there, they made it a point that every time when they're there, the school is spotless clean. So you lead by serving.
I like that, sir, because as a leader, you should be exemplary. So a lot of the times we're talking service, but we're not doing it ourselves. I'll give you a model of what we have at the high school, what we're trying to develop. It's, at first, we had 6 formers only who were in leadership groups that were serving. And so I think what would happen is that as they get to lower 6, then they're like, oh, we have to be leaders. We must serve. We must get into groups. And then they start serving. And so what we've tried to do with the service at the high school is to get everyone involved. From Form 1, you get into a leadership group and you start serving within that group, because you should know that leadership is not something that should be thrust upon you at a certain time in your life, but it's something that you develop within. So they have various areas in which they can serve in, because again, we all have different gifts, we all have different abilities. there's even a loop or what you call it. We were flexible enough to open up other avenues that they may feel, oh, I'm good at taking pictures like Unopa was doing here. So he can go into a marketing group, or he can develop that sort of website or marketing group, that sort of thing, because we've all got different talents and abilities. But service must be by example. And I think as teachers as well, or as educators, we are the ones actually who should be in the front line of showing those examples, like you were part of the crowd picking up the litter. And then they learn from you and they pick up from you. Okay.
And it comes from the basis that in God's economy, our time, our gifts, our talents, our belongings, our money, our schools are not our own.
Yeah.
We are stewards of God's earthly kingdom. And that's the starting point. And when we understand that, we want to implement it. And that's how we then implement it. You see, we need to pray to see the need. There's one thing, there's need all around us, but I'm shocked how many people don't see the need. And so we need to pray to see the need. But once we see the need, we now have a problem. And that's often why people don't want to see the need. Because then you've got a problem. You've got to respond to the need. And in order to respond to that need, you act to relieve the need. That is service. I want you to have a look. Did you see this?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so we can move on. Okay. In your groups? Anything you agree with? You disagree? Missing anything good? And then I'll just quickly state those, but won't. Yeah. Yeah. You're doing okay for the time, eh? Okay. Got a good summary here? Anyone want it? We'll start with this group here. They summed it up quite well.
Right. What we thought on the video was basically just comes down to the drawing that we had, the small little man with a very big heart.
Okay. Anyone else want to comment? Yep, thanks.
Just for me, what I picked up from the video is, as the man was trying to help, everyone around him kind of discouraged him. The man from the little tuck shop shaking his head. And for me, what caught my attention was the pot plant. When he moved it and he put it under the trickling water. In my head, I just thought that plant is going to die because that's too much water. And he walked past the first day and it still looked dead. So you're going to get discouraged. But he just kept it there and it grew. So as you serve, you will get discouraging comments or something that will happen to you that's discouraging. But at the end of the day, you'll reap the fruits.
Yeah.
We're wondering, we didn't know what his motivation was.
Yeah.
Because he was praying, but he could have been praying to Buddha. And by doing these deeds, he could be ensuring that he got a better second life or reincarnation or something. What was his motivation?
I don't know. But did you see the end? Did anyone see what was the last words on that video clip?
Something about vision.
Believe in?
Good word.
How sad. Believe in good. And that's exactly what I thought. I thought, there's lots of people that do lots of things that are good. But we believe in God. So how much greater is our motivation to serve when that's at the core? Okay, and we know all good things come from God, we know that. But when your motivation to serve is just for good, it's not eternal. Our motivation to serve starts and ends, and everything in between is God. And I would love to have that video and be able to do my own thing and get a message because it's got so much good. Okay, great. So how do we serve? I want us just to quickly in your groups again. And not long. This is like flash. What comes to mind? My first one as well. Okay? Yeah, good one. Another one.
When Jesus fed the 5,000.
A service. Good one. Why was that one service? Okay, interesting. Okay, that's a good one. Interesting. Do you see the feeding of the 5,000 as Jesus serving the people and giving them food? That was my second thought, but I had a different reason. Anyone else, when you think of the story of the 5,000, what do you think of?
The boy gave up his lunch for the people.
Okay, well taught. Who's your mother? Absolutely. Yay! Have you seen? I'm taking the one piece that she gets it. Because they asked, who's got something? And if I'd been that little boy, I would have gone, 5,000. Like, I would have just, or I also would have thought, well, I'll just eat it a little bit. Okay, but that's service. It came across. Great. What's another Bible example? Yeah. Okay.
The Shunammite woman, and also the little girl nabbing the lemon story.
Okay.
To the house as a housekeeper.
Okay.
For me, it's Esther when she sacrificed her own life to save her people.
Yeah.
That was service.
And where did Esther's story start? How did the story of Esther start? You're thinking of the end where she was prepared to give up her life and go before the king, but where did it start? The act of service started by being obedient to the opportunity that she had no idea what God was going to do with it.
And it wasn't very nice because she was joining a army.
So, yeah, but she was her uncle was advising in it, and an opportunity came. Okay, great. So you've got it. You guys are great. You see? Because service is so much more than what we just think of the big things, or Jesus washing the feet, and that is it. Service is every day using all of who we are. You see, I thought about the friends bringing their lame friend to Jesus. And I thought when they brought him, the effort they had to go to, and they get there and the house is so full. So what do? They're not going to give up. They are determined. And they saw their friend's need, and so now they were acting to respond to it. So they get on the roof and they put him through the roof. And what was Jesus' answer? What did he say? He said, "Your sins have been forgiven." Now the friends did not see that was his greatest need. The friends saw the need as we see it physically. And Jesus saw the greater need. And I love that, because I'm like, when I talked just now, and I said, pray to see the need. What happens is sometimes God allows us to see that eternal need. Sometimes he doesn't, and we just bring our friends. As we had said right in the beginning, someone was saying, as you do it, it encourages other people to come along. But then what happens is seeing what God can do. He met their friend's greatest need, as well as then healed him as well. The boy sharing his lunch we talked about, and Martha and Mary. It's an interesting one, because we're talking about service, and so we often see service as sort of all the work and doing all the things, and then we see Jesus commending Mary for doing what? Okay. For sitting to listen. And in that sitting to listen, is that service? It actually can be. So we need to be careful in the service that it's not just always about the busyness. That actually service is worshiping God. It's using all of who we are to bring him glory. That's from a Christian perspective. I'm going to hand to you now. So here we go.
Okay, so everyone and anyone can serve. Right? There's no set thing that only these ones are right to serve or those ones can't serve. I'm thinking of the Rotary situation, Interact situation. We'll throw these questions to you just now. Where we used to have, at Gateway, we used to have Interact. And I used to be quite involved. I was the head of Interact. But with Interact, the way Interact worked was you only get in if you qualify. So those who qualified were the ones who could then serve. And they had a certain criteria on how you qualify, which involves your friend list, your social skills and abilities, etc. But when we're looking at it from a biblical point of view, like we said, we've been given all these talents and gifts by God. anyone and everyone can and should be serving. And there are different types of services, like I mentioned, that we've tried to come up with a framework where people can slot in as best as they can. If I feel that I'm more of an usher or hospitality person, there's hospitality there, there's special events there, there's grounds and resources, whatever you can. There's so many areas in which you can serve, and I like what Sarah said just now, that sometimes it's just sitting and listening and watching and observing. I often tell the students that at times, you know, when you're at work, you'll experience it when you're at work. You sit and you think, I hit the ceiling. I need to move. I need to go because there's nothing else for me to do here. But if you actually sit and pray about it, pray and then respond to the need, you see these doors and channels opening up. Of course, in the commercial course, we talk about it that you can't just sit and wait for your promotion at work. Create gaps for yourself. That's service, isn't it? You see where there's a need, where people need to be elevated, or where something needs to be done, and you go and champion that. You've already covered that little gap within the environment itself. Okay, so how can we teach service? We want to discuss these things now. How do we teach? Perhaps how many questions we have? We've got 4 questions, and we've got 4 groups, I think. So can I give a question to a group? The first one, that group. Can service be taught? Can we actually teach children how to serve? And if we can, how? And when? The second group, this is Yuri's group. Should we punish children for not serving? Like I was trying to explain the gateway system that we have for you right now, where you log in hours. Every term, you should have at least 5 hours where you have served. So if they don't have the 5 hours, do we punish them? And if we don't, then what do we do? Just try and think about those things. In American universities and colleges, you don't graduate if you haven't met your service criteria or the IB diploma. They have a service component, and if you haven't met that service component, you don't graduate. There's no end of school for you, you continue. So we are now asking, should we punish people for not serving, given the background of everything that we've just talked about? I mentioned briefly Intracts, Rotary, special people serving only. I hope we've got people from other schools who've got these clubs running in their schools, and Lions clubs, I think. I'm not sure what the primary schools would have for these. Should we have special people who serve only? Or should these clubs continue and without taking anything away from the Rotary Board or Association, Interact, etc.? And then we've got a prefect and seniors. We talked about how we've got different leadership systems in schools, where you've got, Shingi's group, please do the Interact clubs, Rotary, special people only, okay? And then the prefect, senior, special people, if you guys can look at that. Serving, is it only the prefect who should serve? Or the seniors who should serve? Or the select set of people who should serve? What are your views on that? Perhaps if you can just discuss this for 5 minutes.
Video of the guy just saying because I forgot to speak because I want the one at the back. The guy doesn't want example of all people. Anyone has to say.
But I don't think it's
other one shows
juniors who are hyped up and who are eager and ready to run around, like you're saying, They could. I think we had that the one year where we had a prize. There was a prize which was, I can't remember which one it is, it's to do with service. And that was always a prize for the seniors. And then that particular year, there were no seniors to give it to, but there was a junior. So we gave it to a junior. And it made them think, it made them realize that, oh, okay, there's more to this than what's there. So perhaps, like what you're saying, one of the ways promoting everyone, isn't it, at every level, not distinguishing them and saying, these are seniors, these are juniors, but everyone all together just doing things.
It would help seniors also to be more humble if they had to serve in a group that's been led by a junior.
Would that work?
Oh, here we go.
Would it work?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, he's got a comment here.
Yes.
Yes.
I disagree with the humbling of students because that will deter us now because you're making us, as much as it sounds like I'm trying to bolster the prefix system, but I'm not. What I'm saying is as we are now seniors, so then we also deserve that level of respect. If you try and help us now, make us like juniors, we're not going to feel any motivation to work with them because now you're treating us like everybody else. Why am I getting a white shirt and a white jersey and striped around my blazer if I'm just a junior as well?
Can you bring up your respect?
The respect. I don't mean it in a.
Talk more about the respect.
I don't mean it in a sense that I can tell juniors what to do like I'm their boss. It should be in the same way that I can give a junior respect. Like if a junior greets me, I greet them back and we show that same level of respect. That's what I mean. I don't mean it in a way that I'm now controlling over them.
Okay, so.
You know that respect, it's earned.
Yes, sir.
You don't have to just get it if you don't deserve it.
Yes, sir.
You have to earn it. So if you're not doing anything, they will never respect you because of who you are seeing. You need to earn it.
But what I'm saying is, if I'm now treated like a junior, maybe I'm not going to be motivated to do anything special to earn respect.
You need to motivate them to get it.
I make you sound like a kid for now. Because the respect that they're talking about is a different respect to what we're thinking. That's why we will never understand.
Okay.
Because for us, respect is earned.
Yeah.
But then to them, respect is like...
You have to have it.
It's what I want to stress is the way the kids think respect is and what we know respect is are two different things. So we'll never agree in that aspect.
What do you think of respect?
I think of respect as we've been taught over years that when you meet someone who's in a higher position above you,
You have to respect it.
Like when we met with Joseph, I've never met you in my life. That was the first time seeing you, but I insisted that you go into the room before me because it's a respect I have for my elders. So it's the same thing I'm instilling that.
But even I'm an old man who doesn't do good things, who doesn't care about himself and so on, you will never respect him. Let me be practical. I'm an old man like myself, and I have a sexual relationship with a young girl in the school, will you respect me?
No, I can't.
You see, you can't. So it's something, respect. I have, one time I was driving and I was stopped by traffic and he looked at me. He said, you're so respectful. Can you just go? I said, what did that look like? That was my question. So respect, that's what we need to help you to do. It's not, you don't have to deserve it. You earn it. They give it to you because they see you a respectful student, a principled young man, then they realize as someone who's saving, and then the students start to say, wow, I would like to be like him. Then he respects you.
Just one last group. And I want to also say there's fear and there's respect.
Yeah.
There's fear and there's respect. When I was in high school, there was fear. When the prefects come, you stand up and you say, morning, ma'am, morning, sir. Out of fear, not really respect. Let's hear about punishments. Sorry. This group.
service to become like punishment. But at the same time, sometimes you have to coerce children to serve so that they can appreciate the benefits of serving. And I gave an example of my two sons who I forced on pain of death to go and help out with the orphans party, and then the one also went off to camp. But both of them really benefited from this.
I found that when people are struggling with their own...
Yeah. No, that man in his DVD just says exactly that. And just said that sometimes we just got to start. Going to end with this, and then it'll end. We're not going